In the heart of Chicago, where the skyline kissed the clouds and the streets pulsed with the rhythm of life, I found my sanctuary with Nina. Our lives intertwined seamlessly, like the melody of a favorite song that never faded from memory. Each morning began with the soft glow of sunlight spilling into our apartment, illuminating the laughter and warmth that filled our home. We had built something beautiful together, a life that many would envy, and I was proud of every moment we shared. Nina was my muse and my partner, her smile lighting up the darkest days. From the moment we met at that art exhibition years ago, I knew there was something special about her. She was passionate, driven, and filled with an energy that inspired everyone around her. We spent countless nights discussing our dreams, our hopes, and the future we envisioned together. We had plans, oh, how we had plans. Travel destinations were sketched out on a large map pinned to our kitchen wall, each pin a promise waiting to be fulfilled. From the beaches of Bali to the streets of Paris, we dreamed of adventures that would bring us closer together. Every weekend was an opportunity to explore the city we loved. We'd wander through art galleries, hand in hand, marveling at the creativity of others while envisioning our contributions to the world of art. Nina was an aspiring artist, and I supported her in every endeavor, encouraging her to pursue her passion. I admired her talent as she transformed blank canvases into vivid worlds filled with emotion. I often joked that her art was a reflection of our life together, a blend of colors that spoke of joy, love, and a bit of chaos. Evenings were spent cooking elaborate dinners, the kitchen filled with the aroma of spices and laughter as we experimented with new recipes. Those moments, standing side by side, felt like the essence of our relationship, collaborative, fun, and always a bit messy. We would share a bottle of wine, clinking our glasses together, toasting to our dreams and the love that seemed to know no bounds. Our friends often remarked how we were the perfect couple, a label I wore with pride, oblivious to the cracks that might have begun to form beneath the surface. We had built a life centered on love and companionship, with a strong foundation of trust. The weekends would see us hosting friends for game nights, surrounded by laughter and shared stories. I relished those nights, watching Nina as she effortlessly commanded the room with her infectious energy. She was the life of every gathering, and I couldn't help but feel lucky to have her by my side. But it was not just the grand moments that defined us. It was the quiet times, too. Cuddling on the couch during rainy afternoons, engrossed in our favorite shows, or simply talking about everything and nothing for hours. Those were the times I cherished the most, the intimate moments that made me believe we were truly meant to be together. As I look back now, I see those days through a bittersweet lens, a time when I felt invincible. Like nothing could tear us apart. We spoke about the future frequently, children, a house in the suburbs, and a lifetime of adventures. The thought of raising a family with Nina filled me with a sense of purpose and hope. We had dreams of turning our love into something everlasting, a legacy that would outlive us both. Little did I know, the very fabric of our perfect life was woven with threads that were far more fragile than I had ever realized. The reality of our situation would soon come crashing down. But at that moment, I held on to the illusion of perfection. I was a man in love, convinced that our life was everything we had ever wanted, blissfully unaware of the storm that was brewing just beyond the horizon. It was an ordinary Wednesday when the first cracks began to appear in the facade of our perfect life. I remember waking up to the sun streaming through the window, its warm glow illuminating the room we had shared for so long. But as I reached out to wrap my arm around Nina, the cold emptiness of the space beside me sent a shiver down my spine. I blinked, momentarily disoriented, wondering if I had simply imagined the warmth of her presence. As I sat up, the sheets rustled around me, and a sense of dread washed over me. Nina was not one to sleep in. She cherished our mornings together, sipping coffee while sharing our thoughts about the day ahead. I glanced at the clock, and my heart raced as I realized it was already past 8. She was late, and that was unusual for her. I quickly jumped out of bed, my mind racing with possibilities. Maybe she went for a run, I told myself, trying to quell the unease. It was a possibility I hoped to cling to. But as I padded through the apartment, calling her name softly, a growing pit of anxiety formed in my stomach. The living room was empty, the kitchen devoid of any signs of breakfast preparations. I pulled out my phone, sending her a quick text, "Hey, babe. Just checking in, where are you?" Minutes turned into hours, and I felt my heart pounding louder with each passing moment. I glanced at my phone again. No response. I called her, but it went straight to voicemail. I felt a wave of panic rising within me. In the back of my mind, dark thoughts began to creep in. What if something had happened? What if she was hurt? My mind raced through the possibilities like a movie reel on fast forward. I decided to check her social media accounts, hoping to find a clue that would ease my worries. I pulled out my laptop, my fingers trembling as I typed in her name. The usual pictures of her laughing with friends, our adventures together, and the art she had shared filled the screen. But nothing seemed out of the ordinary. I scrolled through her feed, looking for any recent posts or messages that might give me a hint about where she was or what she was doing. I noticed a few messages from friends, but none that suggested anything unusual. I checked the timestamps. She had last posted a picture of a sunset from a recent trip just a couple of days ago. It was beautiful, capturing a moment of peace that felt distant now. I felt an odd mix of longing and fear as I stared at the photo. It was as if the sun was setting on my certainty about her, casting shadows over the trust we had built. After a fruitless search online, I decided to try her phone again, dialing her number repeatedly, each time growing more desperate. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. What if she was in trouble? I felt the walls of our life together closing in around me. A chilling sense of loss creeping in. Finally, I decided to call her best friend, Sarah. Maybe Nina had gone to visit her without telling me. The phone rang twice before Sarah picked up. "Hey, Marcus, what's up?" she said, her voice cheerful. "Have you seen Nina?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. There was a pause on the other end. "No, I haven't. Is everything okay?" "I don't know. She's not home, and she hasn't replied to my messages or calls." "It's not like her," I admitted, the fear creeping into my voice. "Maybe she's just busy. You know how she can get when she's working on her art," Sarah suggested, though her tone was laced with concern. "Yeah, but it's been hours. I'm starting to worry," I replied, my heart racing. "I'll try to reach out to her, too." "Don't worry, Marcus. I'm sure she's fine," Sarah said, but her words offered little comfort. As I hung up, I felt the cold fingers of doubt wrap around my heart. What if this was more than just a simple disappearance? I glanced around our apartment, filled with echoes of laughter and memories, and felt a knot tighten in my stomach. I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted, that the world I had built with Nina was teetering on the brink of collapse. Hours turned into a restless blur. I paced our apartment, trying to fill the silence with thoughts, plans, anything to distract me from the gnawing anxiety. I checked the clock repeatedly, each tick echoing my fear. Finally, as night began to settle in, I decided to go out in search of her. Determined to find answers, to bring her back home where she belonged. But as I stepped out into the bustling streets of Chicago, a sinking feeling filled my chest. I had no idea where to start, and the uncertainty clawed at me. The city felt foreign and daunting, a labyrinth that hid the one person I needed most. I could feel my heart racing with every step, the shadows of doubt growing larger as I ventured into the night, desperate to uncover the truth behind Nina's sudden disappearance. The days stretched into an agonizing blur, each hour filled with dread and uncertainty. I wandered through our apartment like a ghost, the echoes of Nina's laughter haunting every corner. My heart raced at every sound, a door creaking, the faintest rustle of leaves outside, hoping it was her returning home. But each time, disappointment settled like a heavy weight in my chest, reminding me of her absence. I spent countless hours glued to my phone, refreshing social media, desperate for a sign that she was okay. My friends tried to reassure me, but their well-meaning words felt hollow. I couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible had happened. Anxiety morphed into paranoia as I replayed every interaction we had, looking for clues I had missed, trying to make sense of her sudden disappearance. Then came the message that shattered my already fragile world. It was from a mutual acquaintance, someone I had not spoken to in ages, Jason, a guy from our college days. I stared at my phone, the words swimming before my eyes as a sinking feeling began to take hold. "Hey Marcus, I hope you're doing okay. I just wanted to let you know I saw Nina in Miami with Oliver Grayson. They looked pretty cozy together. Thought you should know." I read the message again, each word cutting deeper than the last. The name Oliver Grayson echoed in my mind, a sharp reminder of everything I had held dear. I felt my heart constrict, a visceral reaction of betrayal that took my breath away. My mind raced as I struggled to comprehend the implications. Nina? With Oliver? In Miami? I could hardly process the information. My thoughts spiraled, tumbling down a dark path of disbelief and anger. I had known Oliver, he was an artist, a part of our social circle. He had always admired Nina's talent, and I had thought of him as just another friend. But now, the very thought of him made my skin crawl. How could she do this to me? The reality of her infidelity hit me like a physical blow, and I staggered back against the wall, feeling the ground shift beneath my feet. The walls of our apartment, once a sanctuary, felt like a prison closing in on me. I remembered the late nights she had spent painting, her passion consuming her while I had been too trusting, too naive to see the cracks forming in our relationship. What had I overlooked? What had I ignored in my blind faith in her love? My fingers trembled as I clutched my phone tightly. I wanted to respond to Jason, to demand details, to confront him about what he had seen. But I couldn't find the words. My throat felt tight, and a wave of nausea washed over me. Instead, I stared at the screen, willing the truth to reveal itself. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the whirlwind of emotions raging inside me. I paced the room, trying to gather my thoughts. Why Miami? Why him? The questions flooded my mind, each one a painful reminder of the life I thought I knew. I felt anger bubbling to the surface, but beneath that was a profound sense of loss. The trust I had in Nina felt like it had been ripped away, leaving only a gaping hole in its place. I recalled the moments we had shared, our plans for the future, our dreams of traveling together and starting a family. All of it felt tainted now. I thought of her warm smile, the way her eyes sparkled when she talked about her art and the intimacy we had shared in the quiet moments of our lives. Had it all been a lie? As I contemplated the enormity of her betrayal, a bitter resolve began to take root within me. If she was with Oliver, then she had made her choice. The life we had built together seemed to dissolve into the ether, replaced by a reality I couldn't bear to face. I couldn't allow this betrayal to define me. I needed answers, and I needed to confront the truth, no matter how painful it would be. I grabbed my jacket, the chill of the fabric against my skin grounding me as I prepared to take action. I had to find her, to confront her about what I had learned. I needed to know the truth straight from her lips. The thought of flying to Miami filled me with a mix of dread and determination. I couldn't allow myself to wallow in despair. No, I would face this head on. As I stepped out of our apartment, leaving behind the echoes of my past, a new resolve coursed through me. I was going to Miami, and I would find out exactly what had happened to the love of my life. As I boarded the plane to Miami, my heart pounded relentlessly in my chest, a rhythmic reminder of the turmoil churning within me. I felt like a soldier going into battle, armed with nothing but a heavy heart and a whirlwind of emotions. The familiar hum of the aircraft felt foreign, each vibration amplifying my sense of dread. As the plane ascended into the sky, I gazed out the window, watching Chicago shrink beneath me, the city that had been my home now seeming like a distant memory. What had once been a haven of love and trust felt like a ghost town, empty and filled with echoes of laughter that had faded into silence. I thought of Nina, imagining her in Miami, a place drenched in sunshine and warmth, a stark contrast to the icy grip of betrayal that had settled over me. The thought twisted like a knife in my gut. How could she enjoy herself while I was left to piece together the wreckage of our life together? As the plane soared higher, I began to visualize the scenarios that awaited me. What would I say when I finally confronted her? The anticipation made my palms sweat. I rehearsed our conversation over and over in my mind, each version spiraling in a different direction. Would she be surprised to see me? Would she try to deny everything? Or worse, would she just stand there, indifferent to my pain? My thoughts raced like a runaway train, crashing into one another, leaving destruction in their wake. What if she didn't want to talk? What if she and Oliver were already planning their future together? The weight of those thoughts bore down on me, and I struggled to swallow, my throat tight with emotion. I could envision them together, laughing, sharing moments that once belonged to us, and it ignited a fierce anger within me. But I needed to remain calm. I couldn't let my emotions control me. I had to approach this confrontation with clarity, to demand answers and regain some semblance of dignity. But with every scenario I played out in my mind, the fear of what I might discover threatened to swallow me whole. Would I find the closure I sought, or would it lead to a deeper wound? As the plane began its descent, the vibrant colors of Miami emerged below, a kaleidoscope of life that felt so different from the gray skies I had left behind. My stomach churned as I caught sight of the palm trees swaying gently in the breeze, the beaches teeming with sunbathers unaware of the storm brewing within me. I imagined Nina under the sun, her laughter mixing with the sound of crashing waves, while I was about to shatter that illusion. What if she tried to convince me that everything was fine, that I was just overreacting? I needed to prepare for that too. I envisioned her dismissing my feelings, insisting that Oliver was just an old friend and that nothing was happening between them. My heart tightened at the thought. I couldn't allow her to manipulate the situation. I needed to stand my ground, to make her understand the depth of my hurt. As I stepped off the plane and into the terminal, the warm Miami air enveloped me like a blanket, but it did little to soothe the tempest brewing inside. I felt exposed, as if the bright lights and vibrant energy of the city were mocking my pain. I navigated through the bustling crowds, my mind racing, feeling like an outsider in a place filled with laughter and joy. I checked into a hotel near the beach, a place that felt too bright and cheerful for my current state of mind. The room was modern and stylish, but it all felt like a facade, a stark reminder of the life I was losing. I tossed my bag on the bed and paced the room, grappling with the reality of what I was about to do. I tried to envision Nina's face when she saw me, the confusion and shock in her eyes. Would she even feel remorse? As evening approached, I made my way to the art district where Oliver had his studio. Guided by the adrenaline coursing through my veins, each step felt heavier than the last, the weight of my emotions threatening to pull me under. The vibrant street art and lively atmosphere only amplified my anxiety, and I felt as if the entire world was celebrating while I was facing my hell. What if she was with Oliver when I arrived? The thought sent a surge of anger through me, igniting a fire that threatened to consume my reason. I pictured myself storming into the studio, demanding answers, unleashing all the hurt that had been festering inside me. But what if it didn't go that way? What if I found her crying, regretting her choices, pleading for forgiveness? My heart raced at the multitude of possibilities, each one more harrowing than the last. I knew I had to be prepared for anything: anger, tears, guilt. I had to be strong, to stand firm in the knowledge that I deserved the truth, no matter how painful it might be. Finally, I arrived at the studio, the walls adorned with Oliver's vivid artwork. The vibrant colors felt like a punch in the gut, a harsh reminder of the joy I was losing. Taking a deep breath, I steeled myself for what was to come. I knew I had to confront the reality of our situation, to seek the truth that had eluded me for so long. As I stood outside, my heart pounding and my mind racing, I pushed open the door and stepped into the unknown. This was it, the moment that would determine the course of my life, the confrontation that would either heal or devastate me. I could feel the weight of the world pressing down on my shoulders, but I refused to turn back. I had come to find Nina, to confront her about everything, and I would not leave until I had the answers I desperately needed. As I stepped into the art studio, the air was thick with creativity and tension, and I could immediately sense that this was a world far removed from my own. The vibrant colors of Oliver's artwork splashed across the walls, and the scent of paint and turpentine hung in the air like a heavy shroud. My heart raced with each passing second, a mix of fear and anticipation coursing through me. And then I saw them. In the center of the room, surrounded by canvases and easels, were Nina and Oliver. They were engrossed in their work, oblivious to my presence. The soft glow of the studio lights cast a warm halo around them, illuminating their focused expressions as they collaborated on an art installation. But it wasn't the art that captured my attention, it was the intimacy of the moment. Nina was laughing, her eyes sparkling with joy as she leaned in closer to Oliver. My stomach twisted at the sight of them together, their chemistry palpable. She brushed a stray hair from her face, a gesture so familiar to me that it felt like a dagger to my heart. Oliver stood beside her, his hand hovering close to her waist, as they discussed their vision for the piece. The way they shared glances and leaned into each other sent a surge of anger coursing through my veins. I felt as if I had walked in on a private moment meant only for lovers. A moment that should have belonged to us. The pain of betrayal washed over me, a tidal wave of emotion that threatened to drown me. My breath caught in my throat as I grappled with the reality of what I was witnessing. How could she be so at ease with him while I was here, battling a storm of anguish? Every laugh, every shared glance between them felt like a punch to the gut. I could see the joy on Nina's face, and it was a joy I had once known, a joy that now felt irretrievably lost. The anger inside me ignited into a fiery blaze, fueled by the knowledge that I had been replaced. Was I so easily forgotten? The intensity of my emotions roared to life, drowning out all rational thought. I took a step forward, ready to confront them, but a wave of uncertainty washed over me. Would I scream? Would I cry? Would I lash out in anger? I fought against the urge to storm in and confront them, knowing I needed to find the right moment to confront Nina about her betrayal. Instead, I retreated to the shadows, my heart pounding as I listened to their conversation. It felt surreal, like watching a scene from a movie, but this was my life unraveling before my eyes. I was an intruder in their world, and with each passing moment, I felt more like a ghost, a fading memory of the love Nina and I had once shared. I watched them work together, their movements fluid and in sync, and it made my heart ache. I was filled with a sense of powerlessness, trapped between the desire to confront them and the realization that this moment was not about me. It was about them, and I was simply an outsider looking in. The anger inside me swirled with confusion and pain, creating a tempest that threatened to explode. But then, amid my turmoil, a dark thought began to take root. Revenge. The idea settled in my mind like a poisonous seed, growing with every moment I spent watching them. I could expose their betrayal, rip away the facade of their happiness, and show the world what they had done to me. The thought sent a thrill of excitement through me, mixing with my anger in a way that felt dangerously intoxicating. The more I considered my options, the more the plan solidified in my mind. I could orchestrate a gallery exhibition featuring their images, a public display that would unveil their betrayal for everyone to see. The thought of Nina's face as she realized the extent of my revenge sent a rush of adrenaline coursing through my veins. She thought she could escape the consequences of her actions. I envisioned it all clearly, the gallery packed with guests, the vibrant lights illuminating their faces, and the moment when the images of Nina and Oliver would be unveiled. I could picture the shock and disbelief that would spread across the room as the audience gasped, their whispers growing louder. It would be a spectacle, a moment of pure, unfiltered chaos, and I would be at the center of it, orchestrating every detail. The more I planned, the more exhilarating it became. I could create a series of pieces that captured their intimacy, moments I had witnessed in the studio, juxtaposed against the facade of our once happy marriage. I would use my resources to rent a gallery space and invite friends, family, and acquaintances, everyone who had ever known us. I would ensure that the people who mattered most to Nina would be there to witness her betrayal. As I sat in the studio's shadows, watching them, I began to formulate how I would go about capturing the images I needed. I could take photographs when they least expected it, and document their artistic endeavors and the moments that revealed their closeness. It would require stealth, but I was determined. I was ready to become the architect of my vengeance. The plan felt empowering, a way to reclaim the narrative that had been ripped from me. It would be a way to show Nina that she couldn't just walk away without consequences, that she couldn't simply erase the love we had shared. Amid my pain, I found a sense of purpose, a way to turn my heartbreak into something tangible. I envisioned the day of the exhibition, the preparations, the setup, the anticipation in the air. I could already feel the electricity as I envisioned Nina's shock when she entered the gallery, her heart racing as she faced the reality of her actions. The thought of seeing her exposed before our friends and family, the embarrassment washing over her, filled me with a sense of satisfaction. The darkness that had settled within me felt invigorating, a stark contrast to the vulnerability I had experienced just moments before. I was no longer the victim, I was the one in control. And I would make sure that Nina felt every ounce of pain she had inflicted on me. As I finally stepped out of the studio, a sense of clarity washed over me. I was ready to execute my plan, to make my mark on this twisted love story. I would turn the tables, and in doing so, I would find a way to heal my broken heart. I knew it wouldn't erase the pain, but it would give me the closure I so desperately craved. With every step I took, the resolve solidified within me. The game had changed, and I was ready to play. The days leading up to the exhibition passed in a blur of excitement and determination. I threw myself into the preparations with a fervor that I hadn't felt in years. Each morning, I woke up with a sense of purpose that fueled me as I crafted my plan to expose Nina and Oliver. The idea of bringing their betrayal into the public eye felt liberating, and I reveled in the power I was starting to reclaim. I began by renting a gallery space in a trendy part of Chicago, a place known for showcasing emerging artists. It felt like the perfect setting for my revenge. As I walked through the gallery, I imagined the bustling crowd, friends, family, acquaintances, and the media, all coming together for this dramatic unveiling. The thought of their shocked faces filled me with a rush of adrenaline. I knew that this would be my moment, a chance to expose the truth. I started contacting various media outlets and inviting reporters and art critics to the exhibition. I crafted a tantalizing press release, teasing the audience about an artist whose work was entwined with a scandalous story of love and betrayal. I wanted to create buzz, to ensure that the narrative around the exhibition would draw people in, curious to see the drama unfold. Each email I sent made me feel more alive, igniting a fire within me that had long been extinguished. As the date approached, I meticulously curated the pieces I would showcase, images of Nina and Oliver taken in secret. I played with lighting and arrangement, aiming to enhance the intimacy of the works while simultaneously highlighting the betrayal. I wanted to ensure that when people looked at the art, they would see the connection between the pieces and the scandal behind them. It became an obsessive process, and I poured every ounce of energy into perfecting the display. I made sure to involve my closest friends in the planning. I wanted them to be part of this cathartic experience, to witness the fallout of Nina's betrayal firsthand. They offered their support, helping me with logistics and even spreading the word. I felt like a conductor leading an orchestra, orchestrating every detail of this performance. With each passing day, the anticipation built, and I could hardly sleep at night, my mind racing with possibilities. In my quieter moments, doubt would creep in. I would question whether this was the right thing to do. But the thought of Nina and Oliver together, laughing and creating art, drove those doubts away. I was no longer the heartbroken husband, I was a man on a mission. I wanted to see the world they had built together crumble before their eyes. As the opening night loomed closer, I could hardly contain my excitement. The prospect of unveiling their betrayal to the world felt intoxicating. I envisioned the discussions that would unfold, the whispers that would spread through the crowd. It was a reckoning I had been waiting for, and I was ready to face the consequences of my actions. The day of the exhibition arrived, and I woke up with a mix of exhilaration and nerves coursing through my veins. The sun streamed through the windows, casting a golden light across the room, and I took a moment to soak it all in. This was it, the culmination of my efforts, the moment I had envisioned for weeks. I felt a surge of adrenaline as I prepared for the night ahead. As I arrived at the gallery, I was greeted by the buzz of activity. Staff members were setting up and arranging the final details, and I could hear the soft hum of conversation among early attendees. My heart raced as I took in the sight of the space transformed into a stage for my revenge. I felt a mix of pride and anxiety, knowing that everything I had worked for was about to unfold. As the guests began to arrive, my nerves intensified. I watched as familiar faces entered the gallery, their expressions ranging from curiosity to excitement. I greeted friends and acquaintances, but my mind was elsewhere, focusing on the impending moment of truth. I could feel the energy in the air, thick with anticipation and a hint of tension. People mingled, glasses clinking, laughter ringing out, but I felt like an island in a sea of chaos, waiting for the storm to break. When the clock struck 7, I made my way to the front of the gallery, standing before the array of images that told a story of betrayal. I watched as people began to explore the artwork, their reactions unfolding like a dramatic play. Whispers filled the room, and I could catch snippets of conversations, people speculating about the connection between the pieces. Piecing together the narrative I had crafted. Then I saw her. Nina walked into the gallery, her eyes scanning the room. My heart stopped for a moment as I observed her. She was radiant, unaware of the chaos that was about to engulf her. I felt a wave of satisfaction at the sight of her, knowing she had no idea what was in store. The realization that she was stepping into a trap sent a rush of exhilaration through me. As she approached the first piece, I held my breath, eager to witness her reaction. I watched as confusion crossed her face, followed by a dawning horror. I could see her processing the images, the intimate moments captured between her and Oliver. I reveled in the knowledge that this was only the beginning. The whispers grew louder, the tension thickening as others began to connect the dots, recognizing the narrative I had spun. Throughout the evening, the conversation swirled around me like a tempest. People discussed the art, the scandal, and Nina's connection to Oliver. I stood back, allowing the chaos to unfold, absorbing every moment. I saw the looks of shock on familiar faces as they pieced together the truth, the realization dawning that this was more than just art, it was a revelation of betrayal. Nina's face flushed with humiliation as she faced the crowd, the weight of their gazes pressing down on her. I could see the disbelief in her eyes as she realized the extent of the scandal that had erupted around her. The adrenaline surged within me, fueling my resolve. I had orchestrated this moment, and it was finally playing out as I had envisioned. The exhibition became a stage for the drama that had unfolded in our lives. The discussions grew more intense, the whispers sharper, and I felt a sense of satisfaction wash over me. This was a reckoning, not just for Nina, but for me as well. I had turned my pain into power, and now I was ready to face the consequences of my actions, knowing that I had taken control of my narrative. The aftermath of the exhibition hit like a tidal wave, crashing over everyone involved and dragging them into a whirlpool of shock and humiliation. News of the scandal spread rapidly through the city, fueled by social media and news outlets eager to cover the salacious details of Nina and Oliver's betrayal. What had started as a personal vendetta had exploded into a public spectacle, one that I could neither control nor fully comprehend. The morning after the exhibition, my phone buzzed incessantly with messages from friends, family, and even strangers. Headlines screamed about the scandal, articles dissected the images I had displayed, and everyone seemed to have an opinion. Art or revenge? One headline read, "Love affair exposed. Local couple at the center of controversy." It felt surreal, as if I had somehow stepped into a twisted version of reality. Nina's name became synonymous with betrayal. She was thrust into the public eye, and the shame she endured was palpable. I could only imagine the conversations happening behind closed doors. The whispers that accompanied her every move. Friends who once praised her artistry now questioned her character, and I felt a dark sense of satisfaction mingled with an overwhelming sadness. She was no longer just my wife, she was a public figure, forever defined by her infidelity. As the days passed, the weight of the scandal became unbearable for both Nina and Oliver. I watched her crumble under the pressure, her usual confidence replaced by a haunted look in her eyes. Social media became a relentless storm of criticism. And everywhere she went, she faced the judgment of others. Once admired as a talented artist, she now found herself facing the consequences of her actions in every facet of her life. Oliver, too, became a target of disdain. He had once been celebrated for his talent, but now his reputation was tarnished. The art community, which had once embraced him, turned its back in disgust. Their names were linked, and every mention of them carried the weight of the betrayal. It was painful to witness, but I felt a part of me had also lost something precious in this public shaming. Our marriage crumbled alongside their reputations. The trust that had once been the foundation of our relationship was shattered beyond repair. In the quiet moments of our home, tension filled the air, suffocating any remnants of love we had once shared. Conversations became strained, and I could see the guilt etched on Nina's face, a constant reminder of her betrayal. She tried to explain, to offer apologies, but the words felt hollow. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she would say, her voice breaking. "I thought I could keep it from you. I never wanted to hurt you." But it was too late. The pain of her actions loomed like a dark cloud over us, and I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. Every attempt to rebuild our trust felt like a futile exercise, as the memories of her infidelity replayed in my mind, torturing me endlessly. As our marriage spiraled toward its inevitable end, the sense of shame enveloped us both. Friends who once rallied around us began to drift away, unsure of how to handle the fallout. The support system we had relied on for years crumbled under the weight of the scandal. We were left isolated, two figures trapped in a nightmare of our own making. In the weeks that followed the exhibition, I found myself grappling with the aftermath of it all. As I sat alone in our once happy home, I reflected on the choices I had made. The satisfaction I had felt after exposing Nina and Oliver began to dissipate, replaced by a profound emptiness. The thrill of revenge had faded, leaving behind only a lingering bitterness and regret. The shattered pieces of our lives lay scattered around me, and I realized that the path I had chosen had not brought me the closure I sought. Instead, it had opened a chasm of despair. Each day became a reminder of the person I used to be, and I couldn't help but wonder how we had arrived at this point. I had thought that exposing the truth would provide me with a sense of vindication. But in reality, it had left me more lost than ever. I decided to take a step back, to reassess everything. It became clear that I needed to reclaim my life, to find a way to move forward without the shadows of the past haunting me. I began to focus on myself, seeking therapy to help me process the trauma of betrayal. I learned to confront my emotions rather than let them fester. Slowly, I started to heal, finding solace in the small things: morning runs, art classes, and reconnecting with friends who had remained loyal despite the chaos. As time passed, I realized that I didn't want to be defined by the scandal or my relationship with Nina. I wanted to create a new identity, one that reflected my strength and resilience. I began to explore my passion for art, not as a means of revenge but as a genuine expression of myself. I started attending local art shows, immersing myself in the creative community, and finding inspiration in the works of others. Eventually, I made the difficult decision to file for divorce. It was a choice born out of necessity, a recognition that our marriage could never return to what it once was. It was painful to let go of the dreams we had shared, but I understood that I had to prioritize my well-being. Nina's presence in my life was a constant reminder of the betrayal, and I needed to distance myself from the pain to truly heal. As I signed the papers, I felt a mix of sadness and relief. I knew that closing this chapter was essential for my growth. It symbolized the end of a life I had once cherished and the beginning of something new. I was ready to embrace the unknown, to carve out a new path for myself. With each passing day, I felt a sense of lightness returning. I began to envision a future free from the weight of betrayal. I found hope in the possibility of new relationships, new adventures, and the chance to build a life grounded in honesty and trust. I had been through the darkness, and while the scars would remain, they were reminders of my strength. I stepped into this new life with cautious optimism, ready to leave the past behind. It was time to focus on my happiness and to create a life that was truly mine. The journey would not be easy, but I was determined to reclaim my story and write a new narrative, one filled with hope and healing.